Beneath the ground you walk on every day, there could be an entire hidden world. Not just tunnels, not just caves, but full cities, built in silence, designed to disappear. Imagine this. A thriving civilization on the surface, markets alive, temples standing tall, people living their daily lives. And then suddenly they vanish, not because they left, but because they moved below. Before we go deeper into this hidden world, make sure you subscribe and stay with this journey, because what you're about to discover might completely change the way you see ancient history. Because the truth is, the surface has never told the full story. Some of the greatest human achievements were never meant to be seen. They were buried, hidden, protected, and one of the most astonishing examples lies beneath the strange landscape of, what if the underground world was not built in fear, but in preparation? Because the deeper archaeologists go beneath ancient cities, the more one thing becomes clear. These places were not rushed. They were planned, carefully, precisely, almost as if the people who built them knew they would need them one day. Before we go further, make sure you stay with the journey and subscribe, because what we are about to uncover suggests that ancient civilizations may have understood survival in ways we are only beginning to rediscover. When we return to the underground depths of Cappadocia, the mystery becomes impossible to ignore. Beneath this region lies not just one hidden city, but dozens. The most famous among them, the Rinkyui underground city, stretches deep into the earth across multiple levels. But what makes it truly extraordinary is not just its size. It's the intelligence behind its design. Every part of the city serves a purpose. Every corridor, every chamber, every entrance. Nothing is random. The deeper you go, the more complex it becomes. Ventilation shafts, tall, narrow channels carved vertically through the rock, bring fresh air into the deepest levels. Without them, life underground would be impossible. But these shafts are not simple holes. They are carefully positioned to maintain airflow without exposing the city to danger above. Even more impressive is the water system. Deep wells provided fresh water to the inhabitants. Some of these wells were designed so they could only be accessed from inside the city. This meant that even if enemies found the surface entrance, they could not poison the water supply. That is not just engineering. That is strategy. And then there are the passageways. Long, narrow tunnels designed in a way that forces anyone entering to move slowly, often in single file. From a defensive perspective, this gives an enormous advantage to those inside. One small group could defend against a much larger force. Massive circular stone doors, some weighing hundreds of kilograms, could be rolled into place to seal off entire sections. These doors could only be moved from the inside. Once closed, they turned the city into a fortress beneath the earth. But here's where the story becomes even more fascinating, because this level of planning suggests something deeper than simple protection. It suggests anticipation, because you don't build something this complex unless you believe you will need it. Not once, but again and again. And this raises a powerful question. What were they preparing for? Because the scale of these underground cities goes far beyond what is needed for short-term survival. These were not places where people hid for a few hours. They were places where entire populations could live for extended periods of time. Families, animals, food storage, water supply, ventilation, defense, everything needed to survive without returning to the surface. And this pattern is not limited to one region. In Rome, beneath the modern streets, lies a vast underground network known as the Roman catacombs. At first glance, these catacombs appear to be simple burial sites. Long corridors lined with tombs. Quiet, dark, and sacred. But when you look closer, you begin to see something more. The scale of these tunnels is enormous. They stretch for kilometers beneath the city. Multiple levels, complex pathways, hidden chambers. And during times of persecution, these underground networks became places of refuge. People gathered here, moved through hidden passages, avoided detection. Once again, we see the same idea. The underground is a place of safety, a place where life continues, even when the surface becomes dangerous. Now shift your focus to ancient Egypt, a civilization known for its monumental structures rising above the desert. Pyramids, temples, statues. But beneath these massive constructions lies another world. Hidden chambers, sealed corridors, unknown voids. Inside the Great Pyramid of Giza, modern scanning technology has revealed spaces that were never meant to be easily accessed. Some passages are incredibly narrow. Others lead to chambers that remain unexplored. These are not living spaces. They are not designed for daily life, and yet they were built with incredible precision. Why? What purpose did they serve? Some believe these chambers had symbolic meaning. Others think they were part of complex burial rituals. But there is also another possibility. What if they were designed to protect something? Because underground environments offer one unique advantage: preservation. Objects hidden beneath the ground are protected from weather, erosion, and time. Artifact can remain intact for thousands of years. And that leads us to an idea that is both simple and powerful. What if some underground spaces were built to protect knowledge, to store something important, something valuable enough to hide, something meant to survive, even if the surface world changed? And this idea connects back to the underground cities of Cappadocia, because those cities were not just built to hide people. They were built to sustain life, to preserve communities, to ensure survival. And when you begin to connect these ideas, a pattern starts to emerge. Underground construction is not random. It appears again and again across different civilizations, different environments, different time periods, and yet the same concept: build below, protect below, survive below. But here's where things become even more mysterious, because some underground structures show no signs of emergency use, no evidence of panic, no signs of sudden occupation. Instead, they appear to have been part of everyday life, which raises a new question. Were these underground worlds only for times of crisis, or were they always part of the civilization? Did people move between surface and underground regularly? Did they live part of their lives below? Because if that's true, then our understanding of ancient cities may be incomplete. We imagine cities as places built entirely above ground. But what if that's only half the story? What if every major city had a hidden layer beneath it, a second world, invisible from the surface, used when needed, hidden when not? And if that's the case, then how much of that world is still out there? Because even today, new underground spaces are being discovered. Construction workers uncover hidden tunnels. Archaeologists detect voids beneath ancient ruins. Entire chambers are revealed after being sealed for centuries. And each discovery adds another piece to the puzzle. A puzzle that suggests we have only scratched the surface, literally, of what lies beneath ancient cities. And that brings us to the next stage of this journey. Because in the next part, we move beyond individual underground cities. We begin to explore something even more astonishing: the possibility that these underground worlds were not isolated, but connected through hidden networks that stretch far beyond a single city. Networks that may have allowed entire populations to move unseen, travel underground, communicate across distances, and disappear from the surface completely. Stay with the story, because what we uncover next may change everything we think we know about ancient civilizations and the hidden worlds they left behind. What if these underground cities were never meant to stand alone? What if they were connected, forming something much bigger than we ever imagined? Because the deeper researchers go into ancient underground systems, the more one possibility begins to emerge. These were not isolated shelters. They may have been part of vast, hidden networks. Before we go deeper into this possibility, make sure you stay with the journey and subscribe, because what we are about to uncover could completely change how we understand ancient civilizations. Because now, we are no longer looking at a single underground city. We are looking at the possibility of an entire underground world, hidden beneath the surface, stretching across regions, perhaps even across civilizations. In Cappadocia, the evidence is already pointing in that direction. Cities like Derinkuy Underground City and Kaymakli Underground City are located relatively close to each other. But more importantly, archaeologists have found tunnels that appear to connect them. Some of these tunnels stretch for kilometers. They are narrow, controlled, and clearly designed with intention. If these connections were fully functional, it would mean something incredible. People could move between entire underground cities without ever coming to the surface. Imagine that. A hidden network beneath the earth. Cities connected like nodes. Passageways acting like roads. A silent world below, completely invisible from above. But why build something like this? One explanation is survival. If one city was discovered or attacked, people could escape through tunnels to another location. Another possibility is communication. Underground networks could allow the transfer of information, goods, and resources. But when you look at the scale of these systems, it begins to feel like something more. Because similar underground tunnel systems have been found in completely different parts of the world. In regions of Germany and Austria, researchers have identified mysterious ancient tunnels often referred to as Erdstall. These are not natural caves. They are man-made, narrow passages carved into the earth, sometimes stretching for long distances beneath forests and farmland. Some are so tight that a person must crawl through them. Others open into small chambers. Their purpose is still debated. Some believe they were used as escape routes during times of danger. Others suggest they had ritual or symbolic meaning. But once again, we see a familiar pattern. Underground passages appearing in different cultures with similar characteristics. And then there are discoveries in Peru. Beneath ancient sites, researchers have found evidence of tunnels that may extend far beyond what has been fully explored. Local legends even speak of underground passages connecting distant locations. While not all of these claims are confirmed, enough evidence exists to suggest that underground construction was more widespread than we once believed. And this raises a deeper question. How did different civilizations, separated by time and distance, develop such similar underground systems? Was it coincidence, independent invention, or something else? Because when we compare these structures, we notice something striking. They share common features: narrow entrances, hidden access points, control pathways, ventilation systems, defensive design. It's as if different civilizations followed the same blueprint, or discovered the same solution to a shared problem. Now imagine a world where surface life was not always safe, where threats, whether environmental, climatic, or human, force people to think differently. In such a world, going underground would not just be an option. It would be a strategy, a way to survive, a way to remain hidden, a way to continue life, even when the surface became unpredictable. But there's another possibility, one that is even more intriguing. What if these underground networks were not just about survival, but about movement? Because if tunnels connected multiple cities, they could have allowed people to travel without being seen, to move across regions secretly, to transport goods, information, or even entire groups of people. It would be a completely different way of thinking about ancient transportation. Not roads on the surface, but pathways beneath it, hidden, protected, invisible. And if that idea is even partially true, then what we have discovered so far may only be a small part of a much larger system, because many of these tunnels remain unexplored. Collapsed sections block entire pathways. Unknown chambers remain sealed. And in many cases, modern cities have been built directly on top of ancient underground structures, which means that beneath our feet, right now, there may be entire sections of these networks still waiting to be discovered. Unseen, untouched, unknown. And that leads us to one final, unsettling thought. What if some of these underground spaces were not abandoned, but simply forgotten? Because history only records what survives on the surface. But underground, time moves differently. Structures remain hidden, protected, preserved, and sometimes lost until they are discovered again. Which brings us to the next part of this journey, because what we are about to explore goes beyond tunnels and cities. It moves into something far more mysterious. Underground spaces that do not look like homes, do not function like shelters, and may not have been built for survival at all. Spaces that feel intentional, precise, and possibly designed for purposes we still cannot fully understand. Stay with the story, because what lies ahead may be the most mysterious part of the underground world yet. What if some underground spaces were never meant for living, and never meant for hiding? What if they were built for something else entirely? Because as we move deeper into the hidden world beneath ancient cities, we begin to encounter places that don't behave like cities, don't function like shelters, and don't fit any clear explanation. They are too precise, too intentional, too different. Before we uncover these strange underground spaces, make sure you stay with the journey and subscribe, because what we are about to explore may challenge everything we think we know about ancient intelligence. Because now, we are no longer looking at survival systems. We are looking at something far more mysterious. Across the ancient world, archaeologists have discovered underground chambers that seem to serve no obvious purpose. No signs of daily life, no storage, no evidence of emergency use. Just empty, carefully designed spaces. In Egypt, beneath massive structures that dominate the desert skyline, lies a hidden layer that remains largely unexplored. Inside the Great Pyramid of Giza, modern scanning has revealed voids, spaces that were intentionally created but not clearly connected to known chambers. These voids are not random. They are positioned with precision, aligned with a structure, designed with purpose, but that purpose remains unknown. Some researchers believe these spaces had symbolic meaning, part of a spiritual journey, perhaps representing movement between worlds. Others suggest they may have been used to protect something, a chamber hidden so carefully that it was never meant to be easily found. But there is no definitive answer, and that is what makes it so fascinating, because when we look beyond Egypt, we find something even more unusual. In Malta, there exists a structure that feels almost impossible for its time. The house Saflieni Hypogeum. Unlike underground cities or tunnels, this is something different. It is not built for living. It is not designed for defense. It is a fully carved underground complex with multiple levels, chambers, and passageways. But what makes it truly mysterious is how it interacts with sound. Certain chambers amplify voices. Specific frequencies resonate through the walls. Standing inside, even a whisper can echo in a way that feels almost unnatural. It's as if the structure itself was designed to manipulate sound. But why? What purpose would require such precision? Some believe it was used for rituals involving chanting or sound-based ceremonies. Others think it may have been part of spiritual practices that connected sound with consciousness. But again, there is no clear answer, and that uncertainty is what connects all of these underground spaces, because they feel intentional, deliberate, designed with knowledge we don't fully understand. And then there are even more subtle examples. In parts of Turkey, beyond the large underground cities, smaller isolated chambers have been discovered. These rooms are not connected to living spaces. They are often hidden, difficult to access, and sometimes perfectly symmetrical. No tools, no artifacts, no clear function, just space, carefully carved into the earth. It raises a powerful question. Why would ancient builders invest so much time and effort into creating spaces that were not meant for daily use? Because carving into rock is not easy. It requires planning, skill, labor. Every chamber had a reason, even if that reason has been lost. Now imagine standing inside one of these underground chambers. No sunlight, no wind, just stillness. Your voice echoes in ways you don't expect. The air feels heavier. The space feels controlled, as if it was designed to create a specific experience. And that is where the mystery becomes even deeper. Because these spaces may not have been built just for physical purposes. They may have been built to create an effect, a feeling, an environment, something that goes beyond simple function. And when we compare these structures across different regions, we begin to see patterns, precision, geometry, acoustic design, controlled access. It's almost as if ancient civilizations understood how to shape space in ways that influence human experience, a knowledge that may have been lost over time, or simply not fully understood today, because modern construction focuses on efficiency. But these ancient spaces feel intentional in a different way. They were not just built, they were crafted, designed with purpose, and possibly with meaning, which leads us to the final and most important question. What was the true purpose of these underground worlds? Were they simply practical solutions to real-world problems? Or were they part of something greater? Something we have not yet fully discovered? Because in the final part of this journey, we bring everything together. The underground cities, the hidden networks, the mysterious chambers. And we ask the biggest question of all. What were these ancient civilizations really building beneath our feet? Stay with the story, because what comes next may completely change the way you see history and the hidden world below it. What if everything we've uncovered so far is only the surface of the truth? Because when you step back and look at the full picture, the underground cities, the hidden tunnel networks, the unexplained chambers, you begin to realize something extraordinary. This was not random. This was not occasional. This was repeated across civilizations, across continents, across time. Before we uncover the final truth behind these hidden worlds, make sure you stay with the journey and subscribe, because what you are about to understand may completely change the way you see ancient history. Because now, everything connects. In Cappadocia, massive underground cities like Derinkuy Underground City and Kimakli Underground City were built deep beneath the surface, capable of sustaining thousands of people. In Rome, the vast Roman catacombs created an entire hidden layer beneath the city. In Egypt, the hidden voids and chambers inside the Great Pyramid of Giza continue to challenge our understanding. And in Malta, the Hal Saflieni Hypogeum reveals a level of design that goes far beyond simple function. Different cultures, different purposes, different environments, and yet the same idea. Build below, hide below, preserve below. It's a pattern that cannot be ignored. And when patterns repeat across history, they usually point to something important, something intentional. One explanation is simple: survival. Underground environments offer protection from extreme weather, natural disasters, and even conflict. They provide stability, temperature control, security. In a world without modern infrastructure, going underground could mean the difference between life and extinction. But if survival was the only reason, then why do some of these structures go far beyond what is necessary? Why build multi-level cities capable of supporting thousands? Why create complex tunnel networks connecting distant locations? Why design chambers with acoustic precision or hidden voids with no clear purpose? These are not just shelters. They are systems. And systems are built with long-term thinking, which leads to a deeper possibility. What if these underground worlds were designed not just to protect people, but to preserve something? Knowledge, culture, belief systems. Because underground, time moves differently. Structures are protected from erosion. Artifacts remain hidden. Entire spaces can survive for thousands of years. What if ancient civilizations understood this? What if they intentionally created underground spaces to ensure that something would survive even if the surface world changed? It's a possibility that cannot be ignored. And then there's one final idea, one that is both fascinating and unsettling. What if we haven't found everything yet? Because even today, new underground spaces are being discovered. Hidden tunnels beneath ancient ruins, unknown chambers beneath cities, voids detected by modern scanning technology. And many of these discoveries happen by accident. A construction project reveals a hidden passage. A collapse exposes a sealed entrance. A scan detects a space where nothing should exist. Which means this story is not over. Not even close. There may still be entire underground worlds waiting to be discovered. Cities beneath cities. Networks beneath continents. Secrets beneath our feet. And the most fascinating part is this. The people who built these places knew they might not be seen. They built them knowing they would remain hidden, waiting for someone, someday, to find them. So the next time you walk through a modern city, think about what lies beneath. Because beneath the roads, beneath the buildings, beneath the noise of everyday life, there could be another world, silent, ancient, hidden in darkness, a world that holds answers to questions we have not yet asked. And perhaps, one day, those answers will be uncovered. If you want to explore more hidden histories, lost civilizations, and the mysteries buried beneath our world, make sure you subscribe and stay with us. Because the past is not gone. It's just waiting to be discovered. Globe showing Europe, Africa, whole hash.